Hey, welcome back to Burnout Help, Stress, and Burnout First Aid. Today, I want to talk to you about resilience and especially the connection between resilience and the vagus nerve. Now, I have spoken about the vagus nerve before. There's one video on this on my YouTube channel. Check it out if you haven't. I will repeat some of the same concepts today, but in a broader sense in the context of resilience. So, what is resilience? Really, there's so many different definition. It is used so widely these days. We hear the word resilient everywhere. What do we mean by that? What does it mean to be resilient? And the fact is that the answer is complex. It really is. For some people, resilient is being able to experience stress and not feel a thing. Now, there could be many reasons why some people don't feel a thing with stress. Some might be good reasons, some might be not so good reasons because they are lacking the ability to feel emotions, or part of that it could be just not empathic or being a narcissist or whatever it may be. Some people just don't get affected by stress because of a very particular side to their personality. Now, some people might also be able to build resilience and to bounce back and to grow that thicker skin through training their ability to withstand stress and to not necessarily see it as negative. So, resilience is indeed the ability to bounce back, to build that thicker skin. It's certainly not the ability to ignore, although ignoring can sometimes be useful, but it's not really the ideal scenario. And resilience is really the ability of our nervous system to balance itself out, yeah, and to continue despite adversity. But again, what lies behind that? What lies behind this ability? And that is where it gets really complex because there could be many different things lying between this ability to be resilient. I'll give you some examples from studies I have come across. Some studies show that kids exposed to stress at a very young age can be more resilient later in life. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, there's a dark side to that, which is exposure to stress, especially in the form of trauma at a young age, will result in issues later on. But for those kids who are able to make it through and grow into that resilient path, then later on in life, they will be more resilient because of what they experienced before. Similar to this, you have studies that show that babies exposed to stress in the womb will be more resilient in life. So this exposure to stress hormones, again, it's not always like this. It depends on many different factors, but some exposure to stress hormones such as cortisol or adrenaline in the womb might be able to make you more resilient later in life. It might be another case of what doesn't break you, make you stronger. Now, more studies, for example, mitochondria, which is what's responsible for energy production in our cells at the cellular level, mitochondria health is key to resilience. That's one study that shows that, or several studies that go in that direction and show that. So if your mitochondria is damaged for whatever reason, it could be that you have an illness, it could be that stress, prolonged stress, has been damaging your mitochondria. There could be many different reasons. But if your mitochondria is not healthy, then you would be much less able to be resilient. Similar to this, studies show that gut bacteria, and I've spoken about gut bacteria, it's really the future. We're just starting to scratch the surface on the role of all these millions of bacteria, the role they are playing in many different illnesses and well-being, and of course, resilience. Certain strains of bacteria are linked to more resilience. Now, what if you're missing some of these strains? Too much antibiotics, too much stress, whatever it may be. How can you be resilient if you don't have these bacteria? Now, it's an interesting thing to think about, right? We always think, oh, resilience, I've got to be tough up here, and then everything, and I will be resilient. That plays a role. But imagine that you're missing this bacteria or that your mitochondria is not healthy. Can you really then be resilient despite all of your best efforts up here? So it's really a holistic, one has to look at resilience in a very holistic way. People who exercise 3 times a week are more resilient. So this one is probably less new to you guys. It's clear we all know that exercise is good for us in many different ways. What about prayer and meditation? Whatever you're into, I'm not here to advocate for prayer, but a way to connect with maybe something higher, or to reflect, or to calm the nervous system, or to feel connected, whatever it may be. But in this study, prayer and meditation were linked to more resilience. Gratefulness in another study was linked to more resilience. Regular gratefulness practice. Now, another study showed, and I use this in my work quite a bit, showed that if you believe that stress is actually good for you, that would make you, or stress would then make you more resilient. If you are in a stress situation and you are telling yourself and convincing your entire being that this is actually good for you somehow, right? There's a lot of work that needs to be there for you to convince effectively, but then it builds more resilience, feeling connected to others, meeting people, meeting friends, really having that sense of connection and being social is linked to more resilience. And finally, and this is just the examples I'm giving you, I'm sure there are many more, but finally, I just read this week, vagus nerve tone, vagus nerve health is linked to more resilience. If your vagus nerve, for those of you who haven't watched some of my other videos, the vagus nerve is our longest nerve in the body, and it is responsible for activating the parasympathetic response in our nervous system. That means the relax and digest response in our nervous system, which is, in very simple terms, made of the sympathetic nervous system response, which is our fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest. And both are working together in harmony, ideally, right? But with people who are stressed, chronically stressed, and many other issues, then there's an activation of sympathetic, and the parasympathetic nervous system doesn't work as effectively anymore, and the vagus nerve drives the reaction of the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, that means that if your vagus nerve is damaged or not working effectively, and again, there could be many reasons for that, chronic stress being one of them, but there are others, then you will not be able to build resilience, to be resilient. So you will have to retone your vagus nerve, and the way you retone your vagus nerve is through various things such as eating healthily, sleeping well, exercising, meeting friends, but also direct vagus nerve stimulation. And the way you can do this, there are many ways you can do this. You can hum, ideally a little bit higher in tone. Hum to yourself several minutes a day, but humming is helpful. Gargling, gargle with water, gargle hard. That activates the vagus nerve. Why? Because the vagus nerve starts here in the brainstem, then goes through our ears. I think it goes even in through our eyes a little bit, then through our vocal cords, lungs, heart, stomach, intestines, and then down there in our pelvic floor. So it is connecting all of this. And when you gargle and you hum, you activate the vagus nerve here at the vocal cords. You could put cold ice packs right here on the sides, and that will also activate your vagus nerve. You can actually, with your eyes, make some exercise. For example, you make sure you keep your head straight, and then you move your eyes to the side. Keep your eyes to one side for a few seconds or maybe a minute. Maybe you might yawn. I just need to bring my screen back on. You might yawn a little bit. And then you move to the other side. Stay 1, 2 minutes, whatever you can do. And this is activating your vagus nerve. Singing is activating your vagus nerve. Taking a cold shower is activating your vagus nerve. Light, getting sunlight, laughing, hanging out with friends. All of these are activating your vagus nerve. Breathing correctly. Your vagus nerve is very much connected to your heart rate variability, which you can increase through proper breathing. And some of the things I've mentioned already. So all of these things are connected. And as incredible as it may sound, it still sounds incredible to me, even though I've been working with the vagus nerve for a few years now, is the fact that you can actually be humming or singing, and you can see an impact in your heart rate variability through not just through the vagus nerve, but it's playing a role. Your digestion is impacted through your vagus nerve. So you could be massaging your ear, and I will not show you how to do this today. You can search that online. I'm not an expert in that, but I do it once in a while. There's a special spot here you can massage gently. And this is impacting your digestion all through the vagus nerve again. So going back to the idea of resilience, what is resilience? Resilience is really this holistic ability of your nervous system to find balance. And it's all those things I mentioned, but it is also then your ability cognitively and emotionally to understand what's happening with you and stress and to find the appropriate response in that particular moment. All right. Have a great day, and please leave a comment if you have any questions or if you want to share your perspective on this topic. All right. Take care.